Welcome to fulfilling this belly sting. A show dedicated to aligning a journey to a better mental health using the understandings of the ancient Norse. Join us each weekday morning at 7 a.m. Alaska time. Someone's little girl, daughter, sister, girlfriend, fiance, wife, cousin, mother, auntie, grandmother, great grandmother, elder, disappears, shattering, a family, a community, the world. There is something we can all do. Remember them. Like that.
God Morgan, and happy Thursday to you. Today we embrace and celebrate the god Thor, for he brings a lot into our lives every day. Today I want to talk about not just the physical strength of Thor, but certainly the mental strength as well. And this is what role model we should seek to help us set our mind to becoming successful and happy. Before we get started today, again, I want to thank, as I always do, Tak. Thank you very much for all of you who have liked, followed, and subscribed us on the many different platforms that we're available. If you haven't had the opportunity, please do so. It helps to spread the message far and wide to those who may need it to help obtain or maintain a mental space. For those of you who'd like to donate, please visit our website that we have dedicated set up for that at akoutlaw.live or pay.akoutlaw.com. Both of those sites can accept your donations, and every little bit we can get helps to further our message, either through our electronic platform or the just the in-house visits that we go and we see people around the world. So talk in advance, talk very much. I also want to give a huge shout out to my friends and family at New Reality TV. Newrealitytv.com is a new streaming channel dedicated to the plethora of perspectives of our spiritual journey, to help find something that resonates with you and helps bring that peace that you need to find peace and joy and love in your own heart. So check them out, newrealitytv.com. Finally, my website, which is where you can find all the information about me, my messages, my teachings, my shows, everything you need to know. Plus, you can also ask your own questions. If you're struggling or trying to find your way in your spiritual journey, by all means, stop by NorseWhispers.com. There you can find NorseWhispers.com/coaching. We can begin a dialogue. We can actually communicate back and forth and help you to obtain or maintain a better mental space. Well, God Morgan, and again, happy Thursday to you. Today we celebrate and embrace and relate to the Norse god Thor. Now, he has picked up a world of fame in the new Marvel films, where Chris Hemsworth, does an amazing job at representing the god Thor. There was much that we didn't know, or that's not as popularly known as about Thor, that may not come across in the Marvel films. For instance, Thor is mostly, when we talk about or hear about or speak about Thor, many kind of immediately relate to his physical strength, and of course, him carrying Mjolnir, the warhammer forged from a dying star. And we immediately think of that physical strength, that brutality that Thor was certainly capable of. And it's spoken of in many of the different sagas. But what we don't know as much about is that he had mental strength as well, where you can't really truly have physical strength without an amount of discipline, right? Many physical forms are not going to be born with this overall physical power until we dedicate ourselves a little bit to lifting and practicing and warming those muscles and building those muscles to a point where they are as strong as they can be. Thor, again, represents this physical strength, which meant, by virtue of having an insane amount of physical strength, he also possessed an equal amount of mental strength. This means that he could set his mind to things and make them happen, right? So he would focus on what he was doing, on what he wanted to do, and what he needed to do, and kind of bring it to fruition. So today I want to talk about setting our minds to this goal. When we talk about setting our minds, we're talking about actively, consciously focusing our brain on what we want to manifest, on what we want to bring to fruition, and then denying everything else, pushing everything else away, dedicating our mind and our trajectory, if you will, to this objective, whatever it is. Now, many say, well, how do I do that? Well, have you ever found yourself doing something micro, something small, something like a hobby or something? One of the things that I'm picking up just now is I'm beginning to do some beading, very much like you see within my tie here, beading, very detailed work. So I'm sewing, putting the beads on the needle, sewing the needle through the right thing. This is a very, I won't say tedious work, but very micro detailed, right? To make different products. And as I do this, I notice I'm going to focus because it's very small, right? And as you can tell, I'm not a small person. So when I'm doing this detailed work, I'm focused on it. I'm completely focused on it. And I'll sit down to do some beading. And it'll be a small project. They are all small because I do small beading. Small project. I'll dedicate myself to doing this, and time will change. Time will kind of disappear. It no longer becomes a factor in what I'm doing. It kind of moves to the side. More importantly, the things I'm thinking about while I'm doing this detailed work pushes away other thoughts other than the concentration necessary for the beading. This is actively focusing. And this is the skill that we can use to strengthen our minds in much the same way that Thor would have done in his day. Very focusing that mind. Now, many other people that I've spoken to use totems, maybe some form of object, maybe a copy of Mjolnir here, young reminder that I wear on my wrist, whatever it may be, we use those objects to bring our concentration down to a finite point, right? And when we're focused on that piece, all of this disappears. So we're focused and we're pushing this away. This is the skill needed when we talk about denying energy. Denying energy is very similar to ignoring energy, right? I'm reminded of one of the young women whom I've had the honor of taking care of for a while. She used to have a wonderful phrase, and I loved it. And she'd say, "Talk to the hand. The ears aren't listening." Right? Talk to the hand. That was denying, right? So if you were talking about something, if you were telling her something that she didn't want to hear, it's talk to the hand. Ears aren't listening. This was a methodology that she used to deny certain energies, certain influences, certain influential energy that was coming into her life one way or another. And so, much the same way that we're here today, we talk about a lot of influential energies that are floating around us all the time, whether it be advertising and marketing, the standard, the internet, which talks about a lot about negativity. We really sell negativity and fear on the internet and across most media platforms. Most media outlets are kind of driven at sensationalism. Ergo, we're promoting fear in the message, and that's what they do. And I mean them no disrespect. I'm sure they're trying to do what is necessary to stay in business for them. I, however, do not subscribe to that. So that's another one of those things I just ignore. Push away that influential energy and move on to my what I'm doing and focusing my energy on the things that I want to do, not what they're talking about. So when we think about concentration, we think about focus, we think about mental strength, we're talking about ignoring influential energies. What happens? Very akin, many of us will make our New Year's resolutions in December. And we'll sit down and we'll say, oh, I want to do this, 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 and this. I want to do. All right. And the first thing on the list usually is, for many, many people, is I want to be physically fit. I want to be healthy and physically fit. Okay. Item number one. Well, how am I going to do that? All right. Well, I'm going to buy a gym membership. And we know from the reality of the world that gym membership purchases go up in December like nobody's business, right? It's crazy. Everybody goes out and buys a gym membership. And then the 1st of January rolls around and we go, we work out, we do our exercise, and yeah, we're a little sore. Usually, in some cases, that first exercise creates kind of aches and pains in the body, and that's it. Maybe we'll do it a second time, or maybe even a third time. But by the middle of January, we have found that this thing, this objective that we really thought was important back in December, has no longer any effect on our lives. We are no longer seeing the value in it. Now, what's happened? Well, quite honestly, we've been influenced. We've been influenced by all these other things, all these other energies, which has created doubt, which has created uncertainty, which has created a lot of dark energy, which means we're going to now still steer clear of it, right? So this cycle of influential energy will never stop. Even when you're out in the middle of nowhere and there's no one around for millions of miles and you have no connection with the outside world, here you are. You will still receive influential energies. They may be different influences, but they're influences nonetheless, right? Now, some of them are intrinsic. We have intrinsic influences that will help us to make decisions about survival, keeping us alive, that will help us make decisions about societal, community, about harmony with other humans. We'll have certain influences that are going to push on us, even if we have no negative influences. Our brain may interpret the energies that we're receiving as negative, right? I take 4 different people and we go out into the middle of the Alaska wilderness somewhere. 2 of them are going to be thrilled to be there. They will be absolutely beyond themselves, right? Because they'll be absorbing the energy of the earth and our fellow trees and grass and the animals, and they're going to be in love. They're going to be fulfilled. One person will be neutral. They'll take it or leave it, right? Yeah, it's cool to be out here, but yeah, I could be doing other things, right? And the last person will be absolutely beside themselves with irritants and annoyance and inconvenience and negativity. These energies now are going to work with each other. Because there's 2 positives, we are going to slowly lift that negative person into a neutral position. Ultimately, because of the 2 positives, we may elevate the neutral person to a positive. In some respects, the negative and the neutral will pull on those positives, pull on those beings of light and begin to try to dim them a little bit. All right? This happens in all of society. And it's not abnormal, right? So we know that even in electrical theory, a positive charge is magnetically drawn to a negative charge or ground. Okay? So it pulls over there. How fast it goes, that's another story. But we know that this works. So in the same way, do attitudes, do the energies that we're creating, our intrinsic bioenergy, is much the same way. So negatives will try to draw positives to ground it. Neutrals have a little less gravity on the positives, but they're going to try to dim that light too. While the positives are trying to ignite or light up, if you will, bring up the negatives and the neutrals, right? So we're drawing it all together. Excuse me. The cosmos is filled with neutral energy, not because there's negatives and all that stuff, but because of the vastness that it is. The spiritual realm is infinite. Now, we really need to understand the word infinite to really grasp it, right? So when we talk about infinite, we're talking about going on forever. This idea. Now, the spiritual realm, because it doesn't apply the rules of time and space, it's everything, right? And so I think a lot of people get that phrase weird. Anyway, all right, I gotta take a real quick break, but when I come back, I want to talk about how you can use the role model of the Norse god Thor to set your mind to doing and seeing life the way you want to see it. All right? So we'll be right back, and then we'll talk about how you can set your path to what you want it to be.
In the air. The time is now.
We're all waking up.
We're waking up.
We're all waking up.
It's all shifting.
New vibrations.
It's you.
It's you.
It's me.
It's all of us.
Together.
A new time.
A new day.
A new energy.
A new energy.
New reality.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
Awaken with us.
newrealitytv.com.
Thank you so much for taking that quick break. And thank you again to my friends and family at New Reality TV. I think check them out. For everyone that towards that we're kind of given and handed and said, this is the way it's going to be. Within your mind, you are the driver. You are solely the driver. Okay? So when we think about driving our mind, it's much the same way as driving a car, in that we're going to do it. We're going to actively focus on doing that. So, say we get up in the morning, we wake up, bright, bushy-tailed, ready to go. The world is a beautiful place today. It's warm, it's lovely, it's sunny out, it's a beautiful day. Okay? We're in a beautiful mood. Everything is going our way. Now, what this does is it sets our emotional filters. Very important that we understand that we're the one driving that emotional filter. Now, what does that do? Well, it interprets our world. It's how we see the world. So, as an example, if we look at a picture, like say just a one picture, right? We're going to see that picture a certain way. We're going to see certain things within that picture that kind of draws our attention, right? Based on our mood is what we're going to see. So if we're in a good mood, we'll see the smiles, we'll see the joy, we'll see that those things that are cheery and bright and wonderful. If we're in a bad mood or a negative mood, we're going to see the bad things. Right? The fashion may disturb us, whatever, right? We'll find things to pick apart, right? With negativity. Oh, anyway, I think, so ultimately, we are the ones that are going to force our mind. We're going to set our mind to doing something. So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a little exercise that you can do every day. And it's a wonderful little exercise that can help you realize where your emotional filters are set. Here it is. Each morning when you wake up, I want you to pick from the time you open your eyes, all right? You're just blinking awake to the time, usually about 90 minutes later. So about an hour and a half. It takes every day. Not a big drill. It's not a big exercise, all right? So in these 90 minutes that you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, you're waking up, I want you to identify 25 things, 25 experiences that you have that bring you joy, bring you peace, harmony, love, happiness. There's nothing else is necessary. Now, I would encourage you to write them down, but it's not required. It's not part of the exercise. The exercise is to find the 25 things that bring you joy, true joy. 25 things that bring you peace. Okay? And you're going to do that for 7 days. Now, I know what you're going to say. 25 things, that's a lot of things. There are millions of things that you can find joy in if you're actively seeking it. So, 25 things from day 1 to day 7. Okay? On day 7, we're going to change from 25 to 75. Oh, why? Because you'll find it much easier. Okay? So the 25 things, those first couple of days, finding 25 things may be a struggle, especially if you got to do it in 90 minutes. Okay? Maybe your life isn't so, there's not so much movement. You don't have interactivity with society in 90 minutes. Maybe, you're a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad, okay, 25 things. Now, 25 things in your experience does not mean that you have to see, physically put your hands on something, right? You can have 25 thoughts too. Remember, about 30% of our experience of this reality is imagination. Okay? So 30% of everything we see is up here. All right, so 25 things for 7 days, and then on day 8, we're going to jump it from 25 to 75. By that 7th day, we're actively seeking things. It'll become easier. And believe it or not, on day 14, your whole day will be filled with finding things that bring you joy. Even after the 90 minutes. Okay? Even after the 90 minutes has expired each and every day, you will be able to find joy. Why? Because now you've trained your brain. You've trained it to look at these experiences and find the joy in them. You can find joy, or at least you can find contentment and peace in every scenario. Every scenario. I'm amazed at the emotional magnetism that's applied when we have particular events. I'm reminded of my father's funeral, and for those of you who have heard this story, I apologize. For those of you who haven't, my father, of course, being an Irish Dane, in the morning we had a funeral that mourned the loss of a physical being on the planet. On the evening, we had an Irish wake, which celebrated the arrival of that spiritual form back into the spiritual realm. The experiences were incredibly different, yet the event, my father's passing from this realm, was still the same. Yet we had very different perspectives of it. The funeral, brought up his life, and albeit we spoke of those things that were more pleasant about my father, it was very mournful. It was very sorrowful, very somber event. Irish Wake, everyone spoke of the silly things that my father had done, the funny stories of things that he had done with different people. It was an amazing experience, and it brought this very clear understanding that every piece in our experience of this reality has different perspectives. We can look at it differently, and we get to decide how we look at things. This is what's so exciting about being you. You get to choose how you want to look at this emotional event, how you want to look at this experience that you're having. You can look at it in a positive way or a negative way. That choice is yours. And you get to choose each and every experience. Remember, each and every experience is but a snapshot in your life. And your emotional states are set on those individual snapshots, not on this overall arching thing. You can drop, go, you can rise, you can do, your emotional state can be all over the place. And that's this experience called life. That's what we're here to learn, is how to manage this chemistry that we create. We get to decide how it's created. So it's very, very important that we understand that we're in the driver's seat. So take this experience for what it's worth and try it. What do you got to lose? If you find yourself, particularly if you find yourself maybe being influenced heavily by depressing thoughts, by negative energies, by maybe even neutral energies that are just unwanted, right? Use this opportunity to grab a hold of the steering wheel and start making the choice towards a life that you want to live. Okay? And we're going to do that by consciously seeking that which we want. Joy, happiness, contentment, comfort, peace, harmony. All of these things that we really, really want in our lives, we're going to actively seek. That's the key. For what we seek, we will find. If we seek division, segregation, negativity, and hate and distrust, it's out there. It's out. It's abundant, right? But if we choose to change our perspective and look for the harmony, the unity, the peace, the comfort, the joy, the love, the beauty of this experience called life, that too is abundant. That too is out there in abundance. But we have to consciously look for it. Influences are going to come into our lives. They're going to come in and out, and we need to have the strength to deny that influence, to choose, to actively choose what we want to do, where we want to go, the path that we want to be on. And it's the beautiful thing about being you is you get to choose. All right? So, use this exercise. If it works, I wish you the very best. If you're struggling to get those 25 or you're struggling certainly to get to 75, reach out. Communicate with me. Let's start dialogue. Let's see if we can't find something that'll help you to identify those things. All right? I'm here. I'm always willing to communicate via email or the web or the phone, or we can meet in person. I'm always happy to meet. All right? So, use the exercise. Tell me how it works. Drop your experiences in the comments, and we'll see. All right? And we'll help move to where we want to be, to a life that we want to experience. All right? In the meantime, enjoy Thor's day, the god of strength and certainly the protector of Midgard. And just remember, you have the strength to be who you are, to be what you want to be. Embrace it. And we will see you again tomorrow, where we will embrace Thor's day. Here in the United States, we'll also be celebrating Independence Day. So I want to take a moment and say, please, my friends, be careful. For those of you who want to use fireworks, particularly here in Alaska, please recognize the law, not the law of man who has said that fireworks are not allowed in all those places, but the laws of nature that can't take any more dryness. It's just been a very dry year, and so our friends within the trees and the grasses will burn very quickly. So please, please, please help me look after the trees, look after the grasses, our friends, our brothers and sisters in those forms. All right? So please. In the meantime, have a wonderful Thursday, and we will see you again tomorrow where we'll embrace Freya. Love and light, my friends.
Watching for Felina's Belly Snake, a special production of Whispers of the Norse. Brought to you by the Alaska Wolf Hefnar in South Central Alaska. Guidance and wisdom, courtesy of an ancient Celtic Norse shaman. Thank you so much for joining us today.